Mountain back to Atlantic Ocean. Upon me hills, the full country. To educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focused on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information. Education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia. From education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jack.
And I am Anthony Sierra, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. For those who are just joining us, we cannot welcome you enough. Gentlemen, if you're listening to something, please mute that. Again, folks, Focus on Liberia, Anthony Sierra hosting. In this edition of our broadcast, we are focusing on President Weah's address today. We are calling it a press conference that was carried on today by the former president of Liberia, Mr. George Weah. In his press conference, he raised a lot of issues and accused the current president and the current administration of taking some matters into their own hands. We are here to look at the president's press conference. Well, according to the president's party, they describe that as State of the Nation address. And we will start with that State of the Nation address. The former president is delivering State of the Nation address, but where? At a party's headquarters. I have not seen that before, but hey, you know, the veterans are here. They will help us understand this. So in the president's address, I think you want to see a picture of the president there. You see members and or some executive of the party right behind him as he got ready to deliver what they call State of the Nation's address at the party's headquarters. So that is Mr. Weah, former president of the Republic of Liberia. A lot of things the president raised in what we are calling a press conference here at Focus on Liberia. We don't want to call it State of the Nation's address. Well, in his press conference, he said a lot of things. Number one, unlawful detention without grand jury indictment. As you are aware, there have been arrests of some CDC officials on allegation of corruption, and our understanding is that these individuals are behind bars. The president also, the former president also talked about the harassment and removal of civil servants based on political affiliation. He's trying to say there are some citizens who serve in his government who happen to be citizens who were removed or have been removed from this current government because they happen to be citizens. He also mentioned excessive use of force against citizens leading to deaths. President Weah is saying there was force being used against some citizens of Liberia, and some of them met their untimely death. Also, he mentioned non-prosecution of election-related deaths captured on camera. President Weah is saying during the election, there was some violence that took place, and some people died as a result of that violence, and everything was caught on camera, and the current administration has done nothing about those lives that were lost as a result of election violence, and these things were caught on camera, and the current government seems to have no interest in that. He also said disregard for genuine laws despite Supreme Court ruling. He's accusing the current administration of going against the rule of law by taking matters into their own hands. He didn't stop there. He talked about suspension of the central bank governor in violation of the Central Bank Act. If you are not aware, the central bank governor, Talu, has been suspended by President Weah as a result of an audit that is now looking pretty based on that audit report. And President Weah is saying, well, this man must be suspended, and he did so. Okay, folks, these are just few of the things President Weah raised in his press conference today. Gentlemen, let's get started here. I'm sure you all follow, but I just thought to point out some of the major things that he highlighted, and not forgetting about he also talked about the $22 million, and this government is now violating the PPCC law by getting $22 million that did not go through the legislature, and also some money for yellow machine that did not go through the legislature, and also did not follow, or was not in line, with the PPCC Act. So these are the things that the president mentioned. Gentlemen, let's get started here quickly. First of all, the party CDC is saying this we here focus on Liberia classifies a press conference is a state of the nation's address. Jimmy, I have to start with you here. In your judgment, is the CDC right to say the statement delivered by the president today, former President George Weah, is a state of the nation's address? Do they have a point here?
State of the nation, I guess, freedom of speech, you can call it what you want, but it wasn't a complete analysis of the state of the nation. It did not elaborate on the economics and various other facets of the nation. When you give a state of a nation address, you address the nation in entirety. This more was an analysis of the 6-month-old UP administration, Buckeye administration, where he cited that there were things, they were going outside the law in many of their actions. They were not processing these accusations through the court. They were, in fact, in violation of a few things that they accused the previous government administration of, and where he cited the yellow machines he just mentioned, going out of the PVCC process, the 22 million. So he was actually analyzing the current moves by this administration, and especially that they were targeting members of his political bloc and had past administration. So he had to he as a leader had to come to their rescue, or say something about it. I don't see that as a state of the nation. I think he right to go to battle for his partisans, but in my opinion, Anthony, with all honest opinion, I'm still waiting to see how far this thing will go.
Thank
I
you.
want to see if somebody will actually be prosecuted. You know, we've seen things like this happen before, and we saw them people eventually be let go. So it's questionable. I'm not sure this is just theater, political theater. That's what we've been seeing. We've seen bank governors arrested before, and then they just be let go. So I'm not sure that Boakai and President Weah are playing political theater here, entertaining the people. That's where I stand. I want to see something happen in actuality before I be convinced.
Thank you, Jimmy. And Jimmy Eastman is a member of the Focus on Liberia team here, and he joins us from the nation's capital. That was Jimmy with his opening there. Also here and part of the panel is Clarence Pearson. Dr. Clarence Pearson, welcome. How are you doing today?
Hi, Anthony C. I'm doing okay. Thank you for having me tonight. And I want to say hi to the esteemed panelists on the show tonight, Mr. Eastman, Mr. Gayman, Mr. Nangwe, and hi to the listening audience out there. Look, listen, Mr. C.
Yes.
That was a State of a Nation address, you know. And the reason I say that is because what the young man did was that he summarizes the current status of our country when it comes to how it's being governed, and he was able to point out what he saw as the missteps of the current administration and the danger it posed to the state of the nation, peace and security. So I would see it as a state of a nation, and I will take it at that for tonight.
And do former president give State of the Nation address? Have you seen that before?
Oh no, I mean like Mr. Eastman said, the country is the country of laws. It's a democratic state, and the Constitution provides for freedom of speech. It depends how you want to name it. If I did a sermon right now, I call it State of the Nation address, and I preach that sermon for you from the Bible. So I don't think the name has anything to do with the speech, unless that was not given at the legislature.
Oh. Jeff Victor Namwe, I need clarity on this. If I'm not mistaken, I think Daniel was trying to tell me was former President George Bush, who once said that the president deserves his silence. I think he was talking about Barack Obama when he became president. Maybe people wanted him to be talking. They said, no, the president deserves, my silence. This is unusual to see a former president giving the podium and telling us this is State of the Nation's address. Usually, State of the Nation address is left for a president, a current president, sitting president to do. Is this unusual? What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think it's unusual for a president who is a former president and in the executive mansion to give a State of the Nation address. Yeah, he can address major issues in the country, address the state of the economy, address several issues. But I'm not sure on this as to whether he can serve in that capacity as delivering the State of the Nation address. What I think the president sought to do today was to rally the base. I believe he's trying to gin up his base. The CDC continues to remind us that it is only 20,000, 15,000 votes that separates them from the executive mansion. They believe that the country is evenly divided, and they don't want to lose the base. But I also agree. I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Yes, I think it is the opposition's duty to point out ills in society, but they also have a responsibility to give the government a space to govern. They cannot clutter the space and make the country ungovernable only because they want to return to power. I think it's disingenuous. They need to give this government the space to plant their feet and run the country. I mean, they're already doing a very, very, very not so good job at it. I think complicating it will only make it much worse. So yeah, I listened to the president. Obviously, I listened to some of the speakers after him. They seem to be calling the base back to arms and all of that. I think really we don't need that at this moment. Yes. Should the opposition be active? Yes. They should, call a press conference, address issues. But I don't think the atmosphere that I saw today, the cat calls, the battle cries, the rallying of the base and calling it state of the nation, all of that. I think it was over the board.
Is this something a party chairman could do, the secretary of the party, or any of the executives in the party could do, instead of the president? Looking at our recent and presidential history, I don't remember Ellen Johnson Sirleaf going to the party headquarters and say, "Hey, I'm giving State of the Nation's address, something serious happening here." Is that something, maybe a party chairman could have been suited for to do? Why did the president, have to do that? Why?
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think a lower ranking member could have done it. Look, elections are not for another 5 years or so. Right now, there is no other way the CDC can come to power unless there are elections, right?
Mm-hmm.
And elections are not for another 5 years. So all of these antics that the president himself described, he accusing this government of employing antics. I think these are all antics they are employing. And I think sooner or later they will exhaust themselves. We have the time for politicking. I think the opposition, yes, they have the right to point out what is not going right in the country. But with with what we're experiencing now, the difficulties that this government is having, and of course, it's not due to the fault of the CDC. This government is also struggling to find its way, but at least I think they're trying. I think they should give it a space. Yes, I think a lower-ranking member could have issued a press statement. The president did not call a press conference. This was not a conference. He just read a statement, which could have been read by somebody else, and the point would have been made. But to begin to make hill and try to score points out of this in this early days of this government, I think is going to prove very, very exhausting for the opposition.
And Mr. Namwe, I have to follow up here and be as quickly as you can with the answer so I can get to the man who drinks from the Sakumaran tree. He seems to be tested to talk politics. So we are all aware that you're always using the word unforced errors, right, by this government way too early in the game, and not just one. We're talking about multiple of them. And these are errors that can be consequential, for the living standard of the people. But yeah, you are saying, well, give them space to govern.
Absolutely.
Okay, yes. So if they are making mistakes way too early, why can't they be checkmated way too early? What's wrong with the two can happen, right, for the safety of the country?
I tell you this, and I'll be brief. We're seeing this president is beginning to build confidence. He needs that space. The president is beginning to go after corruption. I think what we saw these past, 2 or 3 days on an attempt, right, to do the right thing and get rid of graft. I think he's sending out a message. It took him a while to figure out a way to do it. Now he's realizing he doesn't need to remove people who are tenured. There are other ways around it. If they are performing badly in government, that he can effectuate removal. We saw that with the central bank governor. So I think he needs the time. Yes, he's making a mistake, and I do agree the opposition, they can also address those issues. But to begin to hold these major rallies, and sooner or later, I'm sure protests will follow. I just think they need to give the government the time to govern. They came to govern. They may be making mistakes yet, but I think they're finding their way.
The rallies have been peaceful. The press conferences have been peaceful. So I don't think they'll constitute any worry or threat to the nation, right?
No, so far no threat as yet. But we're already hearing the door whistles. We're hearing the call to arms. Some of the comments are inflammatory. We've listened to the
and you think they have the capacity to carry on any of those things? To threats?
I think they have the capacity to incite people to violence. The former city mayor is one person who, is a case in point. He's made some very inflammatory remarks. We've heard those. So I'm just saying, yes, you can make your case, but make sure, you do it responsibly.
Right.
All right. Hold on, Jermaine. Let me get to Mr. Gilman. Yeah, hold on, Jermaine.
Allow me to come in 1 minute.
Okay. All right.
And I'll tell you why, J. Victor. I know what you want. But I want to tell him why they will never.
Jimmy, your connection is not good. Yeah, it's freezing. Can you leave and come by? You will be given the time to make your point.
The man stealing cable.
You don't say that to the engineer, but man, we are on there. I don't think he's doing that.
That's why he's
That's
why he's an engineer.
Mr. Gibbon, please go ahead.
Well, you want me to first of all, the opposition owes no allegiance to the ruling government to make them look good. That is not the job of the opposition. The opposition's job is to point out the inconsistencies and the failures of the ruling government. And the president did an excellent job by saying not only did he accuse the administration of things that are erroneous, he quoted facts. And he said he is on the side of the rule of law. And he pointed to the fact that the highest ruling authority of our nation, when the Supreme Court rules, their decisions are final. You heard what Mr. Nangbe just said. He said, even if the Supreme Court rule, there's a way around it. And anybody who talks like that, who behaves like that, is circumventing the law. For instance, the Supreme Court ruled that Joseph Walker, you wrote this law of the tenure position. You wrote it. You were president of the Senate. It was under your 12-year rule that you protected these positions. And it was legally done. It is a standing law. Now you cannot go around and removing the people without legal cause. And if you are going to remove these people, there are procedures that you follow to do this as a nation of law. For instance, let's look at the central governor, the governor of the central bank. The law that governs the central bank tells you exactly step by step how you remove a governor of the bank. Even if the governor was corrupt, was caught stealing, there are rules and there are procedures. The last person on that list is the president. It goes through the process and then it reaches the executive. The executive is not the final or the first arbiter of law in our country. It doesn't work that way. The president mentioned about people being removed from offices because of their political affiliation. You saw yesterday a United Partisan at the Ministry of Transport. She said, little do they know that I am a registered diehard United Partisan that ran a political party, that ran a campaign to elect Joseph Boakai. He said, but there are people in this administration that felt like Sam Wu was here and it was under Sam Wu that I was promoted to being director. So they got rid of 10 directors that were here. These are the things we are not talking about hearsay or they say. We are talking about facts. And the president enumerated those and said, this is what is happening all around the nation. It is happening in every county. That validates why he said the state of the nation. People were killed in Lofa County. People were killed in Cape Mount. People were killed in Bombay. People were killed in Bassa. People were killed in Montserrat. This is affecting the entire nation. This is the state of the nation. The economy, he said, is so terrible that there's no job anywhere else but Montserrat and for these few folks. This is affecting the nation. And that's what an effective communicator does to rally the base and win more souls.
Thank you. Jimmy, you wanted to come in, but the question I have now is the statement delivered by the president, do you see substance in it? And what do you make of his delivery of this statement?
Do I see any substance in it? I think he's doing what he should do as a politician. And that is he's citing some missteps of his opponent. The fact that they are not following the rule of law, and then in addition to that, they are signaling out seditions. So he's doing the right thing as a politician to stand up for. I don't think anybody else would have delivered. I mean, you've heard Koji make statements, but it coming from him with his charismatic appeal to his base, it makes it more significant. But what I was trying to tell you before, those guys are not who they were before. These guys now are rich. These guys are wealthy. They don't want nothing to happen to that place because they will be affected. You see, when you got money, you got property, you got things, you don't want to see chaos. You don't want to see.
Jimmy, are you sure these guys are rich? What evidence have you that they are rich?
Relatively speaking, if you have a big house in Liberia right now, compared to the average man who hardly has a good room to sleep in, you're rich. When you have a car and you have food on the table every single day, you eat in restaurants and all of that, you are rich. When you have clothes, when your children can go to school and they're not put out, the average man doesn't know how his child going to school the next day. You are rich. These people are relatively rich now, and they don't want anything to happen. They don't want any pandemonium in the streets and where that they could stand to lose. So I don't think there will be that kind of agitation at all. Not at all. And I think President Weah has always been a man of peace. He's not going to advocate for disturbance, but however, he has to speak for his people. He has to speak up for the party.
Dr. Pearson, most of the things the president raised in his statement concerning those things that he enumerated, we want to know, are those things true or half true, or are some completely, outright lies? What do you make of them? Any one or two that you want to talk about that you know to be true, half true, or complete lie?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. C. I think to answer that question, a couple of things stand out.
Okay.
When you just pause a little bit and you do a research in Liberia, you notice that a political party called MOVE, where Mills Jones used to be the political leader in the stand-up era before. MOVE was part of the coalition with the CDC. They just had a press conference and they enumerated the same things we're talking about here.
Okay.
If you can recall, Simon Freeman also had a press conference lately and he enumerated similar accusations or caught out the president boycott on these very things. And not too far from our conversation, the national orator on our independence, they listed these very things that we're talking about. It's documented in your speech. So I think what former President Weah did was to recount those very things. I think what makes his so-called State of the Nation stand out is because of the personality behind the utterance. All right, he is a more popular individual within the country. He is one who has, if not the most, most popular party now in the country, as compared to UP. UP is only strong because of the alliance. Minus the alliance, CDC is bigger than UP when it comes to the human population. So this young man knows that he still wields the power of a populist president. And I want to draw this to our attention also, that I don't think it's too early to make a case in the opposition. I would have loved to see my own candidate and political leader, Mr. Alexander Cummings, out there as well, because let us remember this thing. John Malou said this. John Malou said that the Liberian people are of such characteristics that it takes time, but when they crystallize an opinion in their head concerning a political individual, it sticks, and they don't forget it so easily. So I think what the opposition is doing right now is to make sure that these missteps of President Boyka, and like you mentioned, the suspension of the central bank governor, as we speak right now, is illegal, and it's clearly written in the Central Bank Act that the central bank governor can only be removed by a bill of impeachment through the representative and then the Senate. And then another way those guys can be removed is by automatic removal if they violate certain section of their act. All right. So the president should not even be suspending this young man. That other report was properly communicated to the legislature, to Senate Pro Tem Youngly, and to the Speaker Kofa. And the AG was clear. He says, "This is my recommendation, and I want you to act on it as soon as possible to address these grave concerns." So the president should have given the legislature the chance to do their work, because they are charged with the legislative responsibility oversight of the central bank. Now he oversteps his bound, and I can assure you, see, if our central bank governor challenged it at the Supreme Court, President Boyka is not going. Suspension is not going to stand, because the Supreme Court will consider that suspension tantamount to removal.
But I want to ask you something, Mr. Pearson. Dr. Pearson, let me ask you one question quickly.
Yeah.
There was a writ of arrest issued for the bank governor. Right or wrong?
Wrong.
If there was no writ, if there's no charges being brought against him, then they don't have basis. But if there are charges, if he's been charged with a crime, then they can move. Then they can temporarily remove him until he exonerates himself from the crime.
And I will argue that suspension is not tantamount to removal. They're not the same.
Listen. Not only was he not suspended, he was suspended without pay. It's the same equivalence. And for someone to be, in fact, the president's office cannot order an arrest. That has to be done through the judicial process.
Yeah, of course.
That's correct. So the president, like for example, the president immediately, he says here, he had ordered the re-administration of the economic management team to run the economic system of the country, including the bank. And Joseph Weah made himself the chairman of that committee. And on that committee, he made some appointments. And he appointed Mr. Henry S. Samoa as acting executive governor on his committee. So basically, Joseph Weah is now going to be running the central bank. We are not talking here, this is the release.
Mr. Gaiman.
Yes.
Let me clarify something on Mr. Eastman. Mr. Eastman, the president of the Republic of Liberia does not have the power to suspend the bank governor. He does not have the power to suspend the bank governor.
That's correct.
The bank governor cannot be suspended. He can be removed by impeachment. And if you were to go and read the amended and restated Act of the Central Bank, and I'll read it for our hearing, Part 4, Section 14.4, it reads, for you to remove that young man, he has to, number one, carry on gross breach of duty, misconduct of office, conviction of a felony, being declared bankrupt, or disqualified from practicing in his profession in Liberia by order of a competent authority made in respect of him personally. So in other words, this guy can be impeached by the legislature on these grounds. He cannot be suspended because the president thinks he has committed an offense. If they think the man has committed an offense, that offense must be investigated by the national legislature.
So, Mr. Clarence, the question here is, on what basis was he suspended, or is he being suspended by the president?
So President Boyka's letter is clear. President Barker said he receives an audit report, and the audit report shows some gross impropriety in the function of the central bank. And on the basis of the nature of that audit report, he is suspending this guy because he's launching an investigation. It doesn't work like that.
So let's look at the two words, suspension and removal. I think Mr. Gilman is asking that not the same, right?
Under the laws.
So under the law, they said this person, the central bank governor, may be removed for cause. This audit report does not constitute a cause. Is that your argument here?
So let put it this way. So if there are listed causes why he can be removed, it's not tantamount to the president acting on those lists of cause for his removal.
So what is the process and who is the authority for removal for cause?
The legislature, and I'll read the law again. The law says this. The law says this. Under Part 4 of the Act of the Legislature, as amended in 2020, it says this, right? And I'm going to read verbatim. Let me take out my glasses because I can't read with my glasses on. It says here, and I read, Mr. C.
Please.
It says, Section 14, coming down to 4, count 4.
Yeah, take your time.
It says here, I will read from 1A, 1B, and 1C. It says, an official. No. Come on. I'm trying to get it exactly what I talk about the impeachment. All right, is it? The central bank governor and non-executive governor, executive governor, non-executive governor can be removed only by a bill through the Senate, all right, initiated by the House of Representatives. So in other words, what I'm saying that even though you have the causes for which this guy can be terminated, he cannot be terminated just because he violated. There has to be a bill raised by the House of Representatives, and then the Senate can investigate and impeach this guy based on a majority vote of the Senate. So,
Thank you, Mr. And Jill, I'm coming to you. From what you said, he established the process and the authority. The authority here, based on what you just read, is the legislative branch of government that can act to remove him based on a cause, and there should be a process. And that is the bill of impeachment. That is the process and should be done by the legislative branch of government.
Yeah, that's the process.
Jeff Victor Namwe, I mean, earlier you said that there's always a way around.
Yeah.
No, I mean, is this a legal way around a removal of?
Yeah, let me quickly clarify that because I know my brother Jerome.
Jeff Victor, please bear with me. He said you want to provide another information. Go ahead.
Our audience seem to still be concerned about the suspension issue more you raised that. So let me tell you why at the Supreme Court the suspension will not stand. The central bank is designed so that, and if you read that act I'm talking about, it says the central bank cannot seek. It's not on obligation to seek any information or advice from anyone. Second, it cannot even be interfered with by any executive, by any institution in government. Any institution, not even the executive branch of government can interfere. No one can interfere. The only way these guys can be hindered is by the impeachment bill. And let me say this when it comes to suspension. The act is clear because if that is not provided for, any president can get and find fault and remove somebody. Any president come and say, you know, the Booker did with LTA. I mean, there's an audit report, and I launched an investigation, you are suspended. And then clandestinely that may remain suspended for time indefinite, and then they politically put who they want to put there. The law is particular about that. So if they went to the court, let me tell you what will happen. The Supreme Court will rule that the mere fact that the president interfered with the function of the central bank by suspending this guy without the due process of the legislature impeachment, it is a breach of the man's contract because He
Thank you,
cannot
Dr.
be
Piercy.
suspended.
Thank you, Dr.
There's
Piercy.
some.
Briefly,
You're going
just
on the
Mr.
wrong
Namwe.
premise, but I will let Nambi finish. Then I will
Yeah,
say that
let
your
Mr.
premise
Namwe
is
go
wrong.
first. Mr. Namwe, your turn.
Yes, when I said there was a way around, first of all, my brother Goodman attributed a statement to me, which was not my statement. I did not say that the president has a right to go around the Supreme Court, but what I said was the president is finding a way around the argument over tenure positions. Look, when
And
the
this is tenure
president,
position too, right? They he
Yes.
find another
yes,
way.
this governor, I think he was there for 5 years. I think he has 2 years left on his contract, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Because I understand for a long time they have been negotiating for him to exit honorably. But he was maintaining that he still has some time left on his contract. So what I meant by that was the president has found that yes, if these people are tenure, instead of replacing them, he can suspend them. If these people are
And
performing,
is that suspension legal?
You can't suspend the man.
well, Dr. Pearson is arguing that I'm not sure. I'm not too concerned with the process. It may be legal, it may not be legal. I don't know. That's not my argument.
Okay.
My argument
Allow
is
me to
this:
cut in.
the president of the Republic of Liberia has a responsibility when he finds that the country is bleeding, which they are alleging that the governor was doing, paying exorbitant amount of money over the counter, allowing people to come in and borrow money. The previous government took over $80 million from the National Bank. I think
And
he
so,
has a
Mr.
right.
Namwe, are you suggesting that because there are some grave allegations concern of wrongdoing here,
Absolutely.
the president should not be patient enough to follow the layout process to remove the individual? You should just step in and have a way. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
No, I think the suspension will allow the investigation to go on, and the process then will be followed if he has to be removed. But I maintain suspension is not the same as removal. He has not been removed. He's been suspended, and I believe the writer said to give him time to help with the investigation and focus on the audit report.
But mind you now, Mr. Namwe, the last time we saw suspension, I think it was the LTA. Those individuals later had to resign because it was not possible in their calculation for them to be returned to their positions. That's what happened.
I believe in that instance, the president had not even seen the audit report. That was the argument we were making. He did not wait for the audit report. More than that, we know that he made several attempts to remove these people, and that didn't work. And so he bypassed.
So, Mr. Namwe, this is the allegation of the president that of a former president, Mr. Weah, that Mr. Walker is acting illegally and he's not following the rule of law. Because we can all agree that the way he's going around the law, as you pull it, I know you're not arguing that he's doing it legally, but he's finding a way. That is not what the rule of law says.
But listen, we can spend some time over semantics. I still maintain suspension and removal are two different things. That's why they're two different words. They don't mean the same thing. The president may not have the right to remove, but I believe he has the right to suspend. I read over the act, but I have to go back to it again. But I'm saying again.
But
I'm saying
allow me to come in. Even suspension.
Were you fortunate to read?
Question, please, gentlemen. Let Namwe end. Stop. Let Namwe end. Mr. Namwe, you are protected.
The reports are that between 2018 to 2023, this governor allowed over 100 and I believe $73 million, all right, in expenditure. The Liberia is not our economy is not that big. And it appears that there is a pattern, and which is still ongoing. And I believe the president, in his judgment to stop the bleeding, is sought to act while the process that will eventually lead to a decision, whether to retain or dismiss, unfolds. He has to stop the bleeding. I believe that gives him the right to suspend the governor and take him out of action, so that the bleeding will stop, and put the process in place. Now, as to the way it was done, I mean, the questions can be discussed, but I still believe it was the right move to stop the bleeding, all right, and to bring the bank back on course. That's my argument.
Yeah. So let me come in 1 minute, before Justice Jerome. The problem, what should have happened? They should have brought charges against the governor. If they had brought criminal charges against him, then they would have to excuse him from the position until he exonerated himself. But without bringing charges simply because of a report, They should have charged him. And I don't understand the legal people behind this thing, but they should have charged him, because even if you want to suspend him, you have to go about it in a very cautious manner. So what it should have been advised, this discretionary thing has been going on. Charge the man. When you charge him, then we can go prove it whether he's guilty or not. But by not charging him with a crime, that is what leading to this brouhaha right now.
Let me throw this in real quick. I read during the week, I believe that there were attempts to interfere with the GSC investigation by the bank. Active attempts to interfere with the audit process. Now, to me, you have a crime in process and you're going to go to wait for what? To stop the crime occurring? I don't think it makes any sense. I don't think it makes sense.
Mr. Namwe, we do not want to base our argument on innuendos and gossip.
Right.
We are talking about what was listed here. The president listed the crime that he believed this government has. He said one, the harassment and removal of civil servants from system based purely along party lines. That is factual. We heard it, we are seeing it, and it's written. 2, he said the excessive use of force against citizens resulted in deaths. We saw what happened in King George when several people got murdered by the police. The police lied, said these people fired on them, and then they returned fire. Later on, they apologized and paid them off. The president said that a young child was shot and killed by the Liberian police, 11-year-old. The police said they were going into the ghetto and they were shooting at people, and it became a collateral damage. Nobody have said anything about that. The special response team killed somebody because of LEC bill. Somebody stealing current, that person was murdered. And all of these are the things he's talking about. 3, the non-prosecution of election-related death that was on camera. In Weah, we saw the death of Momo, where the people went, and they filmed killing this man. And Mr. Yumale, who is now the Interior, I think Minister of Interior, whatever his name, he said, wherever I see Falabu, I'm going to murder, I'm going to mock him to death. We buy 25 motorbike, three people, and we're going to go wherever I see him, I'm going to murder him. I've done it before. I'm an old rebel. I've done it. I defend my people. All of these things. The young man doing the Weah last day of campaigning, a young man was killed on the Japanese highway on camera. All of these things, if nobody, they have not attempted. Then he went to 4. He said a total disregard for the tenure laws of the country, even in the face of the Supreme Court's ruling. He mentioned that. 5, the broad day violation of the procurement law of the country. 6, the disgrace and denial of benefits for duly commissioned foreign service officers, people who were trained through the Foreign Service Agency of Liberia. They were positioned, they were sent abroad, and you say because they were done under the President Weah's administration, so they disregard them and they recall them. In fact, when you recall people, you pay their way to come home. They left these people to fend for themselves. These are gross violation of our law, of ethics, of courtesy, of peace. Then the president turned around and said, I am building a country of peace for all Liberians to prosper. That alone will trigger anybody to say you are talking from both sides of your mouth. This is what it is. These are facts. Can we debunk these?
Can I throw something, Mr. Sear, quickly?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So, Mr. Nangwe, the other report that we are discussing is different from the other investigations that have other issues going on at the central bank, right? The other report that President Baka is acting on is an audit from 2018 to 2022, accounting for an excess of $90 million expenditure beyond what the central bank should have spent.
Also over $80 million
John
given
Modu,
to-
yeah, John Modu
Mhm.
is also, he just released another comment recently. John Modu is on record right now as we speak saying the same thing, that the president has no jurisdiction over the central bank governor to either subject it to an economic management team or to even suspend the central bank governor. The independence, the autonomy of those institutions are there for a reason. If we politicize this institution, at the end of the day, we'll start going at the National Elections Commission.
So-
What I'm hearing right now is that they've already started pitching towards the National Elections Commission. The commissioner has just been cited. But the
So, Dr. Pearson and Mr. Gilman, I like I said, I don't disagree with you. The process may be questionable, but I believe there are other, concerns that were addressed in the statement by the former president. What about the rest of the other former government officials? Not arrest, but some have been arrested. They attempt to prosecute them. I believe the former president of Liberia believe that is wrong.
Yes.
And why would that be wrong?
Yes, because there's a process. If someone is accused, you have to go when it said in the court of law, right?
Mm-hmm.
Competent jurisdiction.
Yeah, but Mr. Gilman, here we are. No, you interrupt me.
When we say competent jurisdiction,
here we are. No one knows where the former
indictment.
finance minister is.
Listen.
If the president believes that these people are
Mr. Gilman, let me ask a question and then you will respond, please.
Mr. Namwe, listen. In this country, in the rule of law, you have an indictment and you go before the grand jury and you say, I have proper cause for this man to be arrested. The jury look at it and they agree with you, and there's an indictment. And in that indictment, they authorize the authority to send a warrant. The president, the police chief, does not have any authority to arrest anybody without warrant from the courts.
There was a rate of arrest from the
people went to the temple
from the court, Mr. Gilman. Are you saying that rate is not enough to constitute an arrest? I mean, for them to effect an arrest?
Listen.
They got a rate from the court.
Yeah, but listen to this. The president said, listen to what he said. It was well written, well thought of. He said, President Weah immunized, okay, the judicial system, and he goes to whom he has power over. But listen, that you don't just go. The president don't just go and say to the court that he likes and say, "Give me a warrant." There were no jury indictment, nothing. You can't just if you get the president.
There's a jury indictment, and there is also a writ of arrest from a court. When you get a writ of arrest from a court, the police has the right to effect that arrest, isn't it?
Listen.
And we all know that we saw the former controller, I believe, United Tuan. We saw his pictures of him in court.
So,
would you deny that?
That's not the point. They are going to be vindicated. This is what we are saying. That's what the president said.
No, you are criticizing the process, Mr. Gilman. That the way it's being done, they're not following the rule of law.
No.
And I'm saying to you, my question is, if they got a writ from the court for them to carry on an arrest, don't you think that is legal?
Can I help Mr. Gilman a little bit?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. CA, you see that is why Liberia is just a different country altogether. We politicize everything. Economic crime, stealing millions of dollars, is a major problem for Liberia. And for Liberia to tackle corruption, we need to get the people who are committing these economic crimes so that we can deter future crime. But if we continue to go after people with that political, inducement under it, that political motivation, we will miss the target. Not that we don't have issue, we don't have evidence to prosecute them, but the court may even kick that thing out based on procedural error. That's what Mr. Gilman is trying to say. Let me give you an example. Why do you rush to go arrest Samuel Tuel? Why do you rush to go arrest the other guys when you have not even come to a place where you have had a grand jury to look at your case and to say that you have a valid case to prosecute these people?
My question is, do you need,
you grab them, right?
You have a grand jury before you arrest somebody for crime that
No,
You
this
believe
is
they have carried on?
first of all,
No, you
if you
don't.
carry the guys,
No, you
if you
don't.
carry the guys, if you arrest those guys, now you carry them and they bail them out, right? They bail them out to go home. You carry the case before the grand jury, and the grand jury tell you, say, we don't see sufficient evidence to prosecute this case. You've lost before you even got started. But
Yeah,
at the
but that's
same
the question. That is your
It was a raid that came from the court.
Of course.
That we have reason to believe that these individuals were engaged in corruption, which is a crime.
Okay, then Mr. C, let me ask you
So
this.
that they should be arrested for the state to take possession of them and take them to court. I think this is the process here.
Mr. C, let me ask you this in return. If the LSCC, by virtue of the George Weah administration, granted the LSCC the right to investigate and prosecute crimes of corruption, if the LSCC had facts about crime that has been committed, financial crimes that have been committed, and had investigated those crimes, what stopped them from carrying it to a grand jury? What stopped them from carrying a full charge sheet to a grand jury to go and plead for the jury to indict these guys and have them prosecuted in the court of law?
Are you suggesting anything wrong with this securing a writ of arrest from the court to effect an arrest of these individuals?
Mr. C.
Yes.
Look, we all know what's going on here. The reason they didn't go through the grand jury, the reason people go through grand jury is to have 12 other people sitting and looking at the same thing and coming with a conclusion that yes, there's probable cause. But what people do, politicians do.
Do you agree that is not the only way to go about it?
No, but listen, I'm telling you that it is the right way to go.
Yeah, but Jerome, I don't understand the argument. You don't impanel the grand jury. You impanel the grand jury for the hearing.
Listen.
Right?
Listen. The reason that people will say they go directly, the FBI or the NSA would do that would be, this person is a risk. This person is a risk to society. This person is a flight risk. This person has to be had right now, and then or this person will no longer be had. These people, in fact, while the indictment or the raid were being written, you saw the Unity Party national TV, Spoon TV, at Tue's house and said Tue were on the run. That was the headline. Tue is on the run. They know him very well. The man is a consultant in the Ivory Coast. He's at work. Everybody knows what he does. Why would you send somebody a whole slew of newspaper folks and say,
Mr. Goodman,
is on the run when the man is not?
Listen, in this country in which we live, you see the FBI go 6 o'clock in the morning and go and raid your house. Yes. They will go and to contain the evidence and make sure the crime scene is protected. They have the right to do that. When you go to court, then the grand jury is in panel and they listen to your case. Right now, Minister Tue cannot be found. Minister Stanley Ford cannot be found. There is a reason why the government asked. Let me finish. I
won't let you go there because everybody knew, including the Spoon TV, that Tue, he's a consultant with the Ivorian government. And
I didn't know that. I'm just hearing that.
Everybody knew that he works in Ghana and our place. So why would you say he's on the run? Why would you say he's on the run? It is a deliberate attempt to tarnish, like he said, to tarnish me, but I am going to beat this and we're going to put them to shame. You know where he's at. Why go out with this flamboyant news that he's on the run? Tue is not on the run.
But the
you want to agree that it's legal?
You
want to agree that it's legal when one obtains a writ of arrest from a court to carry on that arrest, for that arrest to be carried on?
But that's what happens. Listen to this. The reason, I think you heard the president speak to that. When you gave one section of our society that power to go after people, and you say, well, these guys, like we said, like Mr. Tue said, for the past 6 years, the Unity Party or the opposition would never say anything without mentioning Tue. So if you want to incite the base, whatever it is you want to do, mention Tue. When the Nyaswe death issue came out, when the yellow machine was hot, the Nyaswe
defending Tue yet. Let's leave that.
I'm telling you, when the Nyaswe thing came out,
when the CDC arrested the former central bank, listen
this
now.
president,
CDC
this
to
president,
carry on arrest. Let me let my question.
Listen, no,
At some
listen,
point,
Mr. Sie, Mr. Sie,
may I
even
let my question, please?
no,
May
but
I
listen,
let my
I
question?
want to lay this premise.
May
If
I
you
let
guys,
my
if you
question?
guys said that this government came to do
When
everything
Governor
right
Weah
that was
was
not done in the
arrested,
previous, go ahead.
listen to me, Mr. Gimmy, I need to ask my question. When Governor
go ahead.
Weah was arrested, when I think Charles Sally was arrested,
yeah,
when the former defense minister was arrested, did they go through grand jury?
Yes, yes,
no,
yes.
they did not.
Yes.
No, they did not.
Yes.
No, they did
No,
not.
they did not. No,
Yes.
you're not going to
They
tell
went
us.
through
No, they did
grand
not go
jury.
through grand jury.
They provided the checks, the return checks, check written to Barney Sanuka for 700,000 to himself, to his girlfriend, to friends. All of those things were listed while he was being arrested.
But you don't need a jury before you arrest somebody.
No, you
After
don't.
you arrest them and they
You
go to
really
court,
don't.
that's when you need a jury.
Absolutely.
No.
All right, gentlemen, let's read
You don't
it.
need a jury to arrest somebody.
Okay, let's go.
The jury is there to adjudicate the case.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
this is an
No,
arrest
not
and a
that
carry
jury,
on
not that
to start the process of investigation.
Not that
If the
jury.
individuals know that they didn't do anything wrong, I mean, I think the arrested they were able to comply.
Exactly.
And now they're going to go to court and they're going
But that
to.
is the mistake was
Let's
made.
leave the whole issue about grand jury, gentlemen. Let me put something on the screen here quickly for all to read and conclude on the central bank, because there are other issues that the president raised that are very important and I want for you people to also talk about. Section 22, remover from office, and this is talking about the central bank here, talking about the governors here. A member of the board of governors may be removed from office by the Liberian Senate only upon a bid of impeachment filed by the House of Representatives, upon a finding by the majority of the board of governors, and the recommendation of the president for any of the following reasons: gross breach of duty.
That's the wrong law you got there, Mr. C. There's a one for 2022. 2020, I mean, there's one for 2020. This one is the previous one. This is 2019.
Okay.
This is 2019, so it does
Yeah,
not
there's
hold.
one for 2020.
So what is the difference between this one and that one?
The
Provide that clarity
2020 law reads differently.
Okay, that's the one you read earlier, right?
Can you send it to see it, please?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it and send it in.
Okay.
But even the one that he posted, why he found out, let's discuss the one you just posted.
Yeah.
It is clear. It is the Senate, okay? It is the Senate, and the Board of Governors and the President of the bank that can make that recommendation to the House, and then the House does a bill of impeachment. And then, just like in this country where you impeach the president, or the way they impeach George, Associate Justice. Yes.
Justice Janet.
The House does raise the bill, and then it goes to the Senate for trial. When the Senate finds you guilty, then they send the final signature to the president for removal. That's how it works. You cannot do anything and say for cause. It just doesn't work that way, Mr. Nambi.
All right. So another thing I want us to talk about here is this whole issue of harassment and removal of civil servant based on party affiliation, because the president is alleging here that the Boakum government has harassed citizens believed to be members of his party and removed them from government. My question is, and I'm going to start with Jimmy on this one, what are some specific examples or evidence of civil servants being targeted for their political affiliation and removed from this current government? Jimmy?
Well, you can go right away. You can go to the LTA. The LTA, those people, they wanted to remove those people that were appointed, and those are all 10-year positions. And what did we result? We saw that
Do we have evidence that they were seditions or are seditions or affiliated with CDC anyway?
Well, when you what you're seeing now is that the president doesn't know who are his supporters and his seditions. I mean, he knows that there are people that are part of his party that were in tenured position that were forced out of their positions.
Okay.
And that is where he's going at.
So that's one. Any other specific example of members affiliated with his party or the CDC being removed and harassed by the government?
We also know that people in not just the tenure position, but hundreds of people have been let go. Diplomats have been recalled. People of various ministries have been let go. We know this is happening, and this is what he's bringing up, that these people were his people, and they are being targeted. They are being let go by this administration, and they're, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of those people, if they're on payroll, I don't see how you can just simply remove them. I'm not sure those people on payroll, but he is saying that his people are getting dismissed, are getting furloughed or whatever you call it, and by large numbers. There are a lot of seditionists right now that are out of job, teachers included. So that is what's been going on. That's what they're calling it, a witch hunt.
All right. Mr. Gibbon, give me some specific examples of people believed to be CDC partisans being harassed and removed from this current administration as alleged by President Weah.
Well, I think this video that gone viral talking about from transport, the lady said she was director HR, and when Mr. Tyler came in, he called a staff meeting and told the folks that all those that were appointed under the Weah government, they would be transferred. She said 10 of them were transferred immediately. Not only was she transferred, but she was demoted where she was transferred. And after she worked there for 2 months, they sent her back to Tyler, and Tyler said that she didn't have a job there. That's just one. That's 10 right there. We talk about NASCAR. What happened at NASCAR when Mr. Tappet and his folks went over there when Van Marble was out of the country? They went and said, as per the president's communication, we are here to take over. You saw that. You just heard that people in the foreign service, those who were trained abroad, there were about 57 of them. They were recalled, and not only recalled, but they didn't pay their way back, so they were left in foreign countries on their own to their own devices. We saw what happened at the University of Liberia.
Mr. Gibbon, to that point concerning the foreign service, don't you think the current government has been carrying on reform? And because recall is not new, right? You think the reason they did that was because they happen to be affiliated with the CDC, as the president is suggesting here?
Yes, and not only that, when you recall folks, okay, you have assigned these folks abroad. Families are abroad. Mr. Eastman can speak to that better than I am because he's been in the diplomatic field. You got families that were sent overseas to foreign countries. When you recall these people, you got to make reservation for their return, tickets, transportation, flights, all of these things. The government has to do that. If you don't do those things and those people are left with their own devices, that's what we are talking about. Then we are talking about the 157 police officers that graduated from the police academy that was to be sent over. They work, they county meet, they work in different counties, they work all of these things to be put on the payroll. Now the government is saying that they were trained through the police academy, not properly trained. That is the word they use, not properly trained. So almost 200 officers that were trained, paid for by the Liberian government, are those people. And you saw the letter from Mr. Tappet, Luther Tappet, to the bank governor, recommending 57 of his employees to be hired. And when the bank president said they didn't have space, his question to Front Page Africa was, my job as chairman of my party is to seek employment for my partisans. That was his response. So this is what we are talking about. You send 57 people to the bank governor to hire these people where there is no space. Basically, you are telling him to either absorb them or get rid of 57 folks to replace them with policy, because that's his job. These are just some of the president of the University of Liberia. he was removed and replaced with even somebody even worse. Dr. Conte, whatever his name is, he was under investigation for some sexual abuse when he was ambassador to Nigeria. All of these things are happening. Why? Because he was, I think, Mr. The president of University of Liberia was appointed by President Weah. He also has a tenure position. So here we go.
Well, Jeff Victor Namwe, do you believe that the president is saying the truth here, half truth here, or is he telling a lie? Because especially when it comes to the EPS director is on record for saying that some of these people were not properly trained. All right. And so they went to remove about 250 or more of these individuals that were hired by the Liberian government. According to the Liberian government, that's the CDC government, that they trained the individuals, and they needed to build up the strength of the EPS. But Senge, I think his name Senge, is saying, no, that was not properly done. We didn't need this much. These people were hired based on partisan. Like, I don't know how he got to know that. So that is an instance that I know for a fact, because I follow it specifically, that these people might have been removed based on the fact that they've been, perceived as seditious. How do we know that these people were hired on the basis of policyship? Even if that were the case, are they not Liberians? Are seditious not Liberians? Can they not be hired? Should they be removed on the basis of their policyship? Is there truth to this?
So first of all, my brothers here, the government should not be in the business of hiring, large-scale hiring. Government should be creating the environment for small businesses to hire people.
Mm-hmm.
I heard some of this, the former government surrogates saying that, the government was trying to help these people. We're talking about over 600 people removed from the executive national who were on supplemental payroll. These people were not hired. They were given stipend and they were just associated with the ministry, according to the reports we got. You mentioned, I think, the police academy, 198, I believe, that were not on the payroll, not trained, and removed. So the argument to me, I think, really is a non-argument. First of all, the government payroll, over 92% of the budget goes for payroll, and I think it's untenable. It's unsustainable. And so, yes, I know people need their daily bread and all of that, but government is not supposed to be in the business of mass hiring. Government is supposed to create opportunity. Now, whether these people were removed because they were seditious or not, I don't know. But I know Joseph Jokai is doing a very, very wonderful job streamlining government payroll from the CSA. And coming to the foreign service officials, I know some of the people. These people were sent into the foreign service, I think about 84 of them, barely 3 months or so before the elections. Some of these people are not diplomats. They were posted quickly. This government knew that what they were doing was they did not go through the proper protocol for hiring foreign service diplomat. I know some of these people. As to whether they should be transported back, I don't know if the responsibility should be on the government. But I think this outgoing government, they tried to do to this government what Mr. Selly and other people did to them that got them really, that had Weah's hands tied with a tenure business. She kind of put him in a straitjacket, left a lot of people tenure who shouldn't have been tenure in the first place. And so this immediate past government, they did some of the same things to this incoming government. Some of these people were not legitimate hires, let's be honest. Yes, they are our brothers and sisters. They deserve to make a living. But I think the way they tried to give them the living was not the right way to do it. They should have sought opportunities to create jobs and have these people be gainfully employed. Then bringing them in the government, now on the payroll, and just finding a way to subsidize them. And
the foreign service, Jeff Victor, I know you're in speech. One incident that was reported and confirmed by some media sources having to be Finambono's daughter, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Was sent to one of the consulate or embassies here in the United States, and she had a job there.
Yeah.
And she have not held a serious job before in her life until she was sent to the foreign service.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we cannot, as much as we will call out this government when they do wrong. I think they do something which is intended to help the process. I think we should give them, the props for doing the right thing. Whether sedition or not sedition, I think the payroll is this bloated. The government needs to find a way to reduce the pay envelope. Is too large. It's too big. I
All right.
believe the president said over 70,000 people on government payroll. That's unsustainable. So, should there be a better way to do it? I don't know. Should it be done? Absolutely. I think they should find a way to streamline the government payroll. Is my point.
So, gentlemen, let us look at the bigger picture now. This current government is doing all this in the need of fighting corruption, in the name of accountability and transparency. The CDC now is saying, hey, all that you're doing here is nothing short of witch hunt, because the individuals you are going after are people who were appointed by President Weah or serve in President Weah government. There are people who've done wrong in your government that you have not gone after. You have not shown interest in other cases that happened on your watch or even before you could come to power. That's when President Weah was talking about election-related cases, murders that the now President Weah saw, right? And he has not picked up these cases. And now we talk about inaugural fund. We heard there was an investigation, and up to now, it has not come to a conclusion. We also are aware of inaugural money being distributed by the Unity Party. President Weah has not taken action. It was also reported that while he was president-elect, now Minister of Presidential Affairs went to NACOT and got some money from that. All right. What was done with that money up to now, there's no clarity. The president is yet to show any serious interest in that. And many other things that happen either on his watch or something related to some members of the party, and he has not taken action. Even the LDEA, those guys were caught fighting and using verbals, that actually embarrass the government. The president is yet to take serious action. Other they say, well, you are suspended. We're carrying on investigation. Investigation continues. So the CDC is looking at that and say, well, when it comes to our people, you are swift to bring indictment, and now some of our people are being arrested. What happened to other allegations of corruption? In fact, talking about audit, the president had commissioned an audit at NSA. He decommissioned that audit. There's an audit the president also commissioned for this very central bank we're talking about. We heard that the audit is concluded, it's been completed, but the president is yet to act on the audit, but he's going back to audit that indict former officials of President Weah, and that's the audit he's acting on. So they are saying, well, this is witch hunt. Looking at all that, the bigger question is this government fighting a good fight here? Is the government not selective in the fight against corruption? Because that's what the CDC is saying, that, hey, you're being selective here. And let's start with you, Jimmy. Let's look at this holistically.
I think all Liberians will be happy if we go after people who have illegally gotten Liberian money, who have enriched themselves at the expense of the Liberian people. We have children out of school. We have people that's sick, they can't get medicine. All these funds were supposed to be appropriated for our people to improve their livelihood, and only few people have absconded with the money. So we will be definitely happy if this happens. But it has to happen with transparency, and it has to happen according to the law. We don't want them going outside the law. I see some comments here from Sam Wallow. The idea is you don't want to do anything. Yeah, we want you to do something according to the law, because the rights of Liberians should be protected. And we should never advocate for somebody to take somebody else's right from them, all because they are not politically with us. We have to protect everybody's right. So yes, go after them, but do it legally, do it transparently, and do it fairly across the board. What we're seeing also, though, we're beginning to see some impropriety going on. There are signs that this is going on, and now what will undermine your chase for the corrupt people, the various things that went on? What will undermine it if your owner people doing the same thing? So that's what's going to come under scrutiny. I don't think this yellow machine thing it was a good sign. Till today, we don't see clarity on it. I don't. They asked for the 22 million that was passed for roads. There should be transparency. So the lack of transparency and the unfair administration of justice and law in the country will undermine the whole process. But yes, we want to see them go after people who have broken the law, who have stolen our money, because the majority of the Liberian people are suffering and are hungry. But we don't want them to circumvent the very law they swore they will protect. So that is the problem.
Thank you, Jermaine. And Dr. Pearson, the current Minister of Public Works, Mr. Giddens, when he appeared before the legislature, he admitted that he and the government and the Ministry of Public Works were in violation of the PFM law, the PPCC Act, and every act concerning prudent financial management. There was no bidding whatsoever. And they awarded contracts in the tune of millions. I think he said 8 million out of the 22 to give out contracts without the legislature's knowledge. And what did the legislature do? They pardoned him. What did the president do? He did nothing against an official of government he appointed, a meeting in the House of Politics before the representatives of the people that, yes, I violated the law. He did absolutely nothing. And that man serves today. And yet he is going after other people who were not appointed by him. Does they actually make this fight against corruption to be problematic? Do the CDC have a point here that this is witch hunt?
Mr. C, that's a good question. You know, when it comes to my confidence in President Boyka, when it comes to transparency and integrity on a scale from 1 to 10, I started off on 4. 10 being the highest level of confidence. I started off on 4 based on my own personal interaction with him from Pinsville City in district number 6, where we lived for many years. And I said this to say, you know, when the way you put it, it makes me to wonder how an individual can claim to be a person of integrity and a person of transparency when you who trying to be transparent, you yourself is operating in cloud and darkness. You know, and what do I mean by that? You mentioned Giddens. Giddens went to that to the Senate, and he said he appropriated $8 million even before the Senate could even apportion that money in the national budget. And not only that, he did single sourcing of all of the guys who are even making a competitive bidding for the. He said they were in a fast-moving pace to meet the 100 days deliverable on the directive of the president. And then you got Abache, one of the corruption King Kong. Indicted Abache, telling you, sanctioned Abache, telling you, you know, the man that did a thing wrong, you know, let that pardon them. And then move on. And then people clap and laugh about it, and they move on. And like you rightly said, President Boyka did not take any action. All right, in that regard. But you know what amazed me most in that hearing was this, right? See, in as much as he tried to justify that he didn't use the $22 million in total, he had the audacity to say that they have a portion up to 2026 to use that money. The question is, our budget is an annual budget, not 4 years or 3 years budget. It's an annual budget. So why will you mislead the government of Liberia and take 22 million looking at other competing priorities, only to go and spend $8 million and even don't spend it the proper way? And then the president still keep getting. That's a big problem. And let that jumbo there and go to now. The president brings in yellow machine. I'm not going to say the yellow machine, but I'm going to consider this. Then his officials in government and supporters get up and say they don't want to know how the president bring it in the country. Whether the president bypass a law or not, that's not their concern. Their concern is that the country needs equipment to build roads. In other words, the president is not going to follow the rule of law. He's going to disregard. So how can that individual come back and tell me, say he's going to fight corruption when every actions of his are shredded in corruption itself by deviating from the rule of law? How can you prosecute the judge Weah said, how can you prosecute my officials when your officials right under your nose in the last 6 months have committed, glaring acts of violation of our financial laws, and you have done nothing towards it? So what are we saying here, CA? Liberia needs an honest approach to curbing corruption, because it is the honesty and the transparency in curbing corruption that will deter future corrupt officials. If you do it politically, you only do it for a show and to appease your base and say, I thought you are going to do audit, now I'm doing audit. I thought you are going to execute audit report, now executing audit report. But are you biased? Are you cherry picking? American has an audit report running that have indicted for hundreds of millions of dollars from alien regime. What happened with Connie and that report? We're waiting to see what will happen to it. The IMF has a damaging report on this particular government in the past 6 months that put the IMF on hold right now in terms of how they support Liberia. Why are we not hearing anything about that other condemning investigation from the IMF? So what are we talking here? I think, Mr. Sia, we need to be honest. And I think what the opposition have done, they passed the ball on to Judge Weah. And let me tell you something, in the game of basketball, if you want to make your points while the ball is in your possession, and you lose the ball and give it to your opponent, of course they will score. Will you blame the man for playing the game when you pass the ball to him? No. You didn't drop out the man. Well, now the man got the ball, he's going to drop at you. And I want to stop there for now. And I want to yield.
Just better number. I'm looking at the seriousness, the honesty on the part of the government, right? The inaugural fund thing, I will not leave it, my brother. The country was brought on its knees of shame. Microphone could not work. Microphone that you could order on Amazon for about $10. It could not work. They embarrassed the country. The president was furious. And the whole country got mad. We have not gotten to the bottom of almost $500,000 spent. And now, out of a sudden, the president and the executive mansion, the government has muscles. I'm all for fighting corruption against anybody. But what's about your own? Again, do the CDC have a point here? Now, this is which one? Because this man, the one that happened on his watch, is ignoring it. Or should we say, well, United Party is doing what it's supposed to do? CDC was in power, and it was their opportunity to look at the books that were handled by the Unity Party, and they didn't do that, so we can't blame the Unity Party now. Your take. The veteran number, you're the veteran here.
I think there is some merit to the argument by the CDC that the fight against corruption by this government is being cherry-picked. I think it's selective for some of the reasons that you all have already enumerated. The inaugural budget, $650,000, $350,000 given to the party to go and thank the party. The Liberian put money, go and thank United Party people. Up to now, we don't have any help to that expenditure.
We don't even know the source of that money.
Exactly. The public works minister, you already said that $8.9 million. That's $900,000. That's not no chump change. It's not just $8 million. $8.9 million
Yeah.
And with the possibility of spending 22 million up to 2026 without going through the competitive bidding process. I think that is a violation. The president has done nothing about it. The minister of state, even when the president was still president-elect, took some money from NACO to purchase vehicles. Nothing has been done about that. The yellow machines that we're talking about, they were brought into the country without any competitive bidding process. How did they get here? We're still asking those questions. So I think
Gentlemen agreement?
so I think the CDC does have a point. Does have a point there that the fight against corruption seems to be selective. I think if the president is going to go out and fight corruption, which I think he's really trying to do, he has to fight it across the board. We heard Mo Ali awarding contract to his friend Awodo and Siwa without any competitive bidding. We cannot cherry pick the fight against corruption. If we're going to fight corruption, I think we should fight it at all levels. So I think the CDC does have a point, and I hope the Unity Party government is listening. Before I learn, let me just say to Dr. Pearson, there's a reason why the Kennedy youth supported, who I also supported, Alice Cummings. There's a reason why he's still maintaining silence, because of what I just said. We need to allow the interim government to establish a functional government, and then we can start the opposition at full throttle. So I yield like he yielded to the floor. I'm yielding.
and Mr. Gimen, you support President Weah in the CDC. You are a Sakomorian. You are on record. And when you say that, you can say in your Samian 12 voice that 66 out of the 68 concession agreement were both. Unity Party did that to us. And yet you keep the power. And you had knowledge of these questionable concession agreements, allegation of corruption for 12 years. And you cut the Unity Party a slack. Today I heard Alaska saying, President Weah is regretting now why he did not go after these people to hold them accountable for the stewardship. Well, and now they are coming after him and his people. President Weah should be regretting now. So can you blame the United Party here? United Party saying, look, our focus here is to hold accountable individuals that have power. We're going to hold them accountable. We're not going to hold ourselves accountable. You think United Party can hold itself accountable yet? I think that is Walker not doing the right thing yet to go after you and not himself?
Well, this is what we are talking about with politics is usually interest, but with honesty. So here we go when President we are talking about Joseph Walker weaponizing the judiciary. Let me read this to you. They say here, 7 people in the Weah government were indicted indicted for $500,000. 7 people, $500,000, right? The court to which they went, they set a bill of $6.5 million US dollars. $6.5 million. And the headline says, ex-president Weah officials spent first night in jail for failing to secure a $6.5 million bond for $500,000 accusation. Now you tell me, okay, in all fairness, 7 people for an allegation of $500,000. We had $22 million. One person took $22 million.
Jerome, are you being serious right now?
That's it.
$500,000 and they should put $6 million bond. That's upside down.
Yeah, that's a fact.
It's right here.
That's a fact.
Jerome,
$6.5 million bill. That is right here. It's written. $6.5 million. So here we are. When we're talking about you weaponize the judiciary, you render decisions that make it almost impossible for the opposition or your partner or whoever you want. This is what we are talking about, targeting. We are talking about witch hunting. How can you do this? You arrest a person, and the person has the right to a reasonable bail. But you tell a person in the Republic of Liberia to foot a bill or 6.5 million US dollars. These are the things we are talking about. And yes, President Weah when President Weah came to power, we had all these militants telling the president to go after Ellen and her son because the case was very easy. Ellen had admitted Robert Saleh took $30 million. She says, I'm responsible. The all black and all of these things. But a country that has an empty coffer to persecute at the time about 80 to 100 GAC audit reports, to prosecute these cases who have caused millions that the government did not have. So what did he do? He said, you know what, we will start from scratch and go from there. So this is what we are talking about. If you are willing to do this across the board, like the folks said, if you actually want to go after corruption and do it the right way, President Weah should have gone just from day one. In fact, I think on Jida Hard Talk they said this, that when Rodney Seale broke the story, that the IMF is pissed because they got a report from the Central Bank of Liberia, and the report did not include the $8 million that was spent to rescue two banks, an SRB bank. And the explanation was the Weah administration demanded that money to be paid to these banks because it was loan taken for their campaign. So evidence is about to be adduced to the IMF. And what did Joseph Weah do? You preempt that report being compiled and sent. Remove the guy who's supposed to make this report and send it to the IMF and replace him with your nephew. That's exactly what's happening here. Then he activated the economic, the executive management immediate release today. He said the President Weah reactivated the economic management team and appoint himself as president. And then all these people as members of the committee. It's right here. And on that committee includes Mr. Henry S. Samoa as acting executive, and he also a member of the Central Bank, and will be member of Joseph Weah's team. So Joseph Weah is now the judge, the juror, and the executioner. He is the man. Joseph Weah is the chairman, the president of that economic team, and the Central Bank is underneath him as member of the team. It's right here. They put it in writing today. So
that's another Mr. Gaiman, that's another violation.
Anthony, are we taking calls?
And to Gaiman's point that John Molu, who is also familiar with or knowledgeable concerning our financial management law, he said President Weah is doing exactly the same thing President Weah did. All right, putting the central bank governor and also the finance minister together to be part of the economic management thing. He said that is wrong. You don't do it that way. So he doesn't see any change and any difference whatsoever. And and he even said that even President Weah did a little better when it comes to the economic management team compared to what Weah is doing, and even brought Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in there. I just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah, Jermaine, you wanted to say something? Jermaine?
Yes, are we taking callers? Because some people want to join the conversation.
Yeah, we will be taking calls very soon. I just set up the call line for people to call and participate. So, gentlemen,
Mr. Sia, can you put up that laws just for our viewers? Maybe they're still waiting for it.
Exactly, that's what I'm about to do, and I will read it here. All right, so this is the new law now. This is the revised version. It says resignation or removal of executive governor, not executive governor, and deputy governors. And I will read that. 1, no person shall serve or remain the executive governor or a non-executive governor or a deputy governor of the central bank who is an official or salary employee of a government ministry or other public entity except a teacher, a professor in a university. B, an official of a political party, or C, an official or employee of a financial institution or a beneficial owner of an entity interest in a financial institution. I know people want to hear the removal part, so let me go to it quickly, and that is 4 here. The executive governor, non-executive governor, or deputy governor shall be removed by the Senate from office only upon a bill of impeachment by the House of Representatives upon any of the following reasons: A, gross breach of duty, misconduct in office, conviction of a felony, being declared bankrupt, disqualified, or suspended from practicing his profession in Liberia. That is the new law. It is not too different from the previous one that we read, right? But
there's a strategic difference that Mr. C, let me bring that to your attention. If you notice, the reason they revised that section, they removed the president completely.
Oh, yes, I agree with that.
They removed the president completely. That's why I kept telling Mr. Nangbe, the president does not even have the power to suspend the executive director from the central bank. He has nothing to do with them because they wanted to remove that political influence. That's the reason why it was revised.
That is true. That is a significant piece there, and I want to emphasize that in the previous law, they have the president playing a role in the removal process. In this revised version, the president has no authority whatsoever.
Absolutely no role
in removing any official. It did not talk about suspension. So for the president to be finding a way of removing this individual because of quote-unquote audit report, he should leave it with the legislative branch of government to carry on that process.
Mr. C, we got to give President Weah credit because it was he that revised it and removed himself in 2022. 2020.
Okay. With that said, we will want to open the phone lines, and the phone line is.
And Waka want to put himself back in there.
He already put his head there.
Yeah, he won't be there. We'll move him.
How you removing? You suspend him too?
No, we're moving to the court. The president said it. Through the legal and political processes, we're moving. You're not going to stay there.
All right, folks, if you want to participate, the number to call is 605-313-6004. And then you can enter the code 719-403#. Let me post the number quickly for you to see. While I do that, we will take a short break and we'll be right back to take your phone calls. We are taking a short break and we will be right back to take your phone calls. Stay tuned. Indeed, fellow Liberians, God gave us this country. This is why we have provided a phone number for you to participate in the discussion that got to do with the nation Liberia. 605-313-6004. Don't hesitate to enter the code 791-403#. And that's the only way you will have the opportunity to connect with us here. And the phone is right here for you to participate. While I wait for call, let me hear from the man, Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy, my question now while we wait for the callers. We saw the way they roll out this assets recovery thing. They rushed the guy in the streets. They were arresting cars. They had the police with them. And then the individuals who they accuse of having government property went to court. The court said, hey, give the property back to the people. That is not a procedure. And ever since then, the oxygen has gone out of the assets recovery thing. We don't even know if it exists. Is the president of this administration repeating this mistake? Are they calculated here? Are they thorough here? Did they plan ahead for initiating the process here, because I'm afraid that it may come to the same charade that we saw with the assets recovery thing. You think that they're going to get this done? This political indictment and arrest, we've seen it before, and that's the end. Charles Saliv and the Whigs, they are still around. They are free men. And even Bernie Samankar, who was indicted and found guilty by the court, the man was in no time pardoned by President Weah, and the man's a free man. He didn't serve a term.
I think Mr. Seli may have left us.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. Oh yes.
You know,
President-
definitely, this administration has a challenge with procedure.
Mhm.
They may be having the right goal in mind, but procedurally they're making some bad mistakes, and it would end up not good. And you see them trying to go around the law, and this is it's a weakness. Whenever you try to circumvent your own law, go above it, you are breaking the system. So this will come back and haunt them if they are even successful. This case could have easily been handled. This governor could have easily been handled by simply charging him with a crime, having it go through the process, and even if, as Mr. Nangbe said, even if he was trying to get involved with the investigation or trying to influence the investigation, there are ways to have dealt with him, so that he would not be able to influence. But if we do not follow laws, we are helping to break down the system. And I see, if this doesn't change, if this trend just doesn't change, it will undermine their credibility. It will undermine it because transparency. You need to get credibility. You need transparency. You need fairness, and across the board administration of justice, and you need to be honest about it and fair. So I see too many procedural errors, and for administration that claims that they are experienced, I don't understand it. But I can only interpret that as intentional.
Yep, I don't understand it either. We have a caller on the line. That person is the man at Flomo Livingstone. You are live and you have a minute. Let us hear you. Mr. Livingstone? Flomo?
Unmuted.
Go ahead, Flomo. We can hear you now. All right. Let me hold him there and go to another caller. Caller with phone number ending in 9623. Are you there?
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay. All right. Your name, please.
My name is Boy Solo, and I call you from New York.
Okay. Go ahead.
Let me say thanks for the show. I'm always following, and I just decided to call today because something really struck me. I'll follow the show right on call. Firstly, let it come to when we discuss, and you guys discussing whether it's a wish or it's not a wish. And we as the Liberians, looking at our past, we got to be very sincere when we discussing issues. Everything that this president is doing is showing complete wish hunt. Look at, and I'm not going to go to ministerial position, MCC. More than 350 people, they put them down. All are women, young people, and all those people, they let them go. There are many mistakes. Now you're talking about the law says that the legislature should come up with a funding. You didn't wait for the legislature to come up with a funding to send to you. You send people to arrest. You now think about violating those people's human rights because you feel that it's in the wish hunt. Let us be careful. Let us be careful. These are the things that happened in the past. These are the things that happen in the past that ran Mr. Taylor out of Liberia. Because I can tell you right now, some of our victims, when Taylor came to power, they started to call some of our friends, our tribal people, dissident forces, and they started running behind people at night, arresting people illegally, and some of us have to leave the country, and some of our brothers have to leave the country, and then regroup and came back from the Taylor. We need to do that. And lastly, let me tell the brother who supports the Unity Party, I'm so disappointed in you, my brother. If you were saying that you in America working and you can find money to feed your family,
just a correction. No Unity Party supporter here. Just for correction.
Okay. When I correct that, you don't say that. If you're telling me you work in America, America provides an environment that you can have private jobs because they have an investment. Our country doesn't have the investment that you're talking about and saying the people, government not supposed to be putting people on payroll and the payroll is squatted. But how you expect those people to live? It's a shame. It's a shame. When you want to survive, but other people didn't survive. We shouldn't sit in America here and be giving things to our people. There's other means that if you cannot get a company coming in, that's why you have the government. The government to take the responsibility and check it out the people. And that's why the government is doing.
Thank you.
They're flying the payroll to people. It's so shameful to you, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Flomo Livingstone, are you there now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the show. I want to tell the panelists thank you. Look, people, we have to take emotion out of this thing. Especially Mr. Pearson and Jerome. Look, how would a sitting government that was there, George Weah, want to pass on responsibility to another person? I was watching another show today, and they put on the statute of limitation, which said after 5 years, you cannot prosecute someone for corruption or such thing. Even they do the audit, when they do the audit, you have to prosecute them before the 5 years elapsed. So if you wait until 5 years out of the judicial, you're in office, you didn't do that. If you expect the president and the current government to come and go back, that's more than 5 years. So they can't do that when you take them to court, it will not work. Because it happened during the Eden Congo's case. When it took up in 2020, when she went, the incident happened in 2014. They found out that she did some corruption, but when she went to the court threw it away because it said it passed the limitation rules of 5 years. So when people try to come out and try to pass the responsibility on other people, let us go and read this session. I see Mr. Pearson putting out some session from the central bank. I wish he can go and put out a lot of statute of limitation. It's 5 years. So you don't expect President Walker to go back 6-7 years to come do all the things. It will not work because the court will throw it away. And we need to get that and let us remove our emotion from it and focus on the thing. Look, people are missing the point. The reason I'm supporting the President Walker of doing this is to set a precedent. That way, even his current government officials would know that, hey, what I'm doing, I have to do it the right way. Because when I leave office, the next government I come will audit if I do something bad, and I'll be taken to court. And that we should all support that and start saying which on. All the audit report right now the president is implementing, it was done on George Weah. And all the people that he appointed during the LACC, the GAC, they're all appointed from George Weah. So how will you say the president is which on? If everything was done under your administration and you did not take action, and now the president is just implementing it.
Flomo?
No, that don't respect the people at all.
Flomo, while you were speaking, I tried to look it up on this statute of limitation. Let me read what I just found. This is not a detailed research, I was just doing it while you were, speaking, right? It said, according to an act of the National Legislature, there is now no statute of limitation on corruption and financial crimes related offenses. They say there's no statute of limitation on corruption. Hold on, let me look at the date here. I don't seem to get the date quite clear. So, I mean, I was just looking at all they say there's no statute of limitation on corruption and financial crimes related offenses. It continues. This means that prosecution for offenses involving fraud and breach of fiduciary obligation can be commenced at any time, even if the period provided for in other section has expired. It continues. For other types of financial offense, criminal offenses, the statute of limitation would depend on the specific provision of the Liberian criminal procedural law. So that way you have a point that it got to be which criminal procedural law, the person, may have violated. But when it says specifically, when it comes to financial crimes and corruption, there's no statute of limitation. We'll do further research on that and focus on Liberia in the subsequent broadcast. Will bring clarity to that. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. No, let me just say this point. I want to know the yes, but I'm watching school today. Mom, they put it on the school. It was section 4.2 when he read it. He said it's 5 years. So recently, it is a statute of limitation on order. You're gonna have in any government, there's always a statute of limitation.
Yeah, I don't like people mention that name you just called on this platform. The man who is trying to interrogate people on corruption is guilty of corruption. He should be going to jail. And he is the one you Liberian people who claim to be serious about fighting corruption listen to talking about other people in corruption. I don't like that name to be mentioned here when we're talking about fighting corruption in Liberia. This is a disservice to the nation. All right? That you mention is Spoon here, a criminal of the first order talking about corruption in Liberia. But you made your point, please. Let me let you go. No, I didn't say he was not prosecuted. I said guilty. Spoon. And that's the guy you want to quote. That's the guy you want to quote that you heard something from him. Let me fit there. Let me fit there, Flomo. Let me go to Ojuku Cummings here. Ojuku Cummings, phone number ending in 0456. You have your time. Let's hear you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Again, my name is Ojuku Cummings. I'm calling from Creston Heights, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah, first of all, with the corruption issue, our Ojuku will not take like 10 years to build a 3-bedroom house. And this 3-bedroom house has not even been completed yet. And it has to put somebody who took 6 months to 9 months to build mansions. It means that I'll be a fool. Somebody who has no trace of his money, but out of the blue sky as a government official, you start having mention. Okay, now let's get to the issue. What Wakai is doing, for me, I deem it as witch hunt. Because if you are preaching equity, you should come with clean. There are allegations against his officials. Number one, the director at the court. There's an allegation against him writing a check of $25,000 to help the people in King George. And the evidence showed that he did not use the whole money. Number two, the public work minister. Number three, the inaugural fund. I can go on and on like one of your panelists said. And number four, Mike Jabate gets threatened as safety lawmaker. And nothing has been done. He said police investigating him. Should the police be investigating that? He should be fired. He should be fired. So, I mean, he who preaches equity should come with clean. So, I think that is a witch hunt. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Let me go back to the phone line here quickly. Gentlemen, bear with me. The previous caller before this guy asked me to provide the date of the law regarding statute of limitation. I just got that. I think that we do it for calls for now. We don't have any other calls, so I will use this time to bring that which I read and researched, even though it was very brief. Let me bring it in quickly so that our people know that we are doing justice to the discussion here. And then I think, yeah, we have it. Yeah, we have it. Okay. Let me put it on the screen, gentlemen. Yeah, we have it. Okay. So this is it. And this is it. It's a national legislature to amend certain provision of the chapter 15 of the Title 2 of the Code of Law Revised, also known as the Criminal Procedural Law, to provide for the removal of the statute of limitation on corruption and financial crimes related offenses, approved this day of January 2021. So when the legislature passed it and was approved, it was left with in 2021, it was left with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to print it into handbill. So if my research is correct, based on the title of this, there was a revised version to remove that statute of limitation on corruption and financial crimes related offenses in the Republic of Liberia. So if my research is right, as I read earlier, there is no statute of limitation on corruption and financial crimes, and it also said financial related crime. So again, we'll do further research on that, and we will reach out to our lawyers, our legal analysts here to provide us the information, so just for us to be clear. But if the research is correct, when it comes to corruption, financial crimes, no statute of limitation. If you stole in 1980, we can go for you and legally nail you according to the law. Gentlemen, we don't have any other caller. So that will do it for today's discussion, and I'll come back to you. Gentlemen, the bigger picture here now is the CDC and the Unity Party now, have been crisscrossing politically. Now, the CDC had a time to go after the Unity Party. It did not do so. Unity Party said, well, we'll go after your people. We will handle them whichever way we can. But I think we shouldn't excuse the CDC here. Cabinet Janet is in the history now. The CDC went after Janet. The CDC went after, what's his name, Bernie Samukai. The CDC had weeks and the Salib, indicted and, send them to jail. Are we seeing something that might lead to conflict here? Are these two parties actually serious? The way they are handling the issue of accountability and the fight against corruption? J. Victor Namo, you're the veteran here. Any hope in this process of fighting corruption from these two political parties?
I think the current government seems to be making some strides. Jimmy pointed that out, and I say that here also all the time. They have a problem with doing procedurally doing it right. And I think they need to find a way. I think they mean well, but they tend to always go about it the wrong way, and eventually then their purpose is.
So now you think this is not showmanship? Because if they met well with the assets recovery, they should retool this thing, but it's like dead.
Well, Mr. C, we have seen this president let go his Minister of Defense. This is something President Weah never did. We've seen him let go the Minister of Finance.
The man resigned and he said, let go. He resigned. He couldn't force the man on the job. This man has a right to resign. He resigned voluntarily.
But nobody resigned under President Weah. Let's put it that way.
Both of them resigned, the defense and the finance minister.
Yeah, that's the euphemism.
The resignation of the finance minister, according to him, he was not well, so he had to go get some rest.
No, but now, even if we were to toss those two examples, right now you have 4 government officials right now who are being indicted, and I think it is a total of 7 or so of them. This is something that never happened.
In the CDC government, we saw indictment, so this is not new, right?
Well, you know what? You asked a question as to what the end result is going to be, but so far, I think the efforts that are being made by this government, they seem to be more. I don't want to say well-intentioned, but I think the efforts are well-meaning. We didn't see this kind of concerted effort from the immediate past government, and that, to me, that gives me a little bit of hope. However, my frustration is that
don't you see this effort as a strategy to get their partisans job, because with every effort, the president will be very swift to replace the individual. When he
And that may
suspended
well
people at
be, I think,
hold on. When he suspended people at LTA, we saw the likes of his supporters being appointed immediately. That's the same thing we see with the central bank thing here. Don't you think this man is finding a way to get his people there and not actually fighting corruption?
No, I think I mean, it would be reasonable to think that way, only because the judgment is still out yet on what they're trying to do. But in this early day, I mean, 6 months into this government, what we are seeing here is something that we didn't see under the previous government. They refused entirely to go after the UP government. They refused to audit the government, even though the UP government kept calling on them to come and audit them. They didn't. So I think there's reason for hope here. I think we will be able to formulate conclusions when we see how these cases are handled, how the result of these cases. But so far, I think they seem to be making some encouraging attempt at fighting corruption. I mean, we've already given several examples of cases right underneath their noses that they could have tackled also in their own camp that they have refused to tackle. That is reason for concern. But the net, I think, is that they seem to be doing a better job than the previous government did.
Mr. Namwe, I don't know where you're getting your hope from. The President Commission and audit at NASCA, not NASCA, but NSA, right? Where they can slaughter the card of corruption on the table, and then the population can see it, right? And he did commission it. He had a 160-degree turn on what was a legitimate request for that entity to be audited. According to our law, any entity that spends government dime must be audited. Don't listen to that crap that, well, it's an intelligence agency, so you can't audit it. It's bogus. He gave a 360, and you say it's half hope. So what will we know about what's happening at NSA concerning the millions and millions that are passing through that agency? Anyway, your hope, I can't take it from you. Enjoy your hope. Clarence, you're closing.
Listen, I think we all want to be hopeful at some point, right? Because it's a country that is 177 years old, and Dr. Peter tells us to reimagine ourselves and assume some level of dignity to move our country forward, to correct those structural lapses that we have, and to unfree our people for some level of equality and a balance across our population, to bring people to where they're supposed to be, to benefit from this motherland that we also must cherish. But again, it's difficult to say when you have a house, a neighborhood, Mr. C, and then you have this town chief who has his children in your house, killing people, chicken around, eating it. And then the town chief say he's going to run in the village and catch other people who killing poor chicken and eating it, but leave a children in your house who eating the poor chicken already. They will not take him serious, and that's why we find ourselves. And so, President Weah is from Weah, Lofa County. He understands what it means to be a farmer. He knows what it means to be a village chief. You cannot have your compound, your children eating people chicken in the compound, and then go in the village to go catch other people, children who eating chicken in other people's compounds. It doesn't work that way. He needs to take the country serious and show leadership and put his house in order. If they left I alone, I will say this, and I will continue to receive Mr. C as before I close. I think President Weah does not have what it takes to be a president. I think President Weah does not even have the right people advising him. That's why all of these missteps. And I think the best he can do is to turn over to Jeremiah Kuhn, and then let Jeremiah Kuhn, who is more young, energetic, and forward-thinking, take over this government and move it forward. As far as I can see, President Weah's speech was on spot. It's opposed the views of our veteran integrity icon, John Molu. It's opposed our orator. Pele.
You think Kuhn will fight corruption?
Yeah, so I don't think Weah is ready right now. I think he's just trying to appease the supporters who are looking to him to have fulfill some campaign promises or conduct audit, and that's what he's doing. But I think too many missteps. And this case against these guys, I think it's not going to stand in the court of law. And I mean the two and others, because of some procedural errors I've already started. And I don't think a suspension against the central bank governor will stand if that guy took it to the Supreme Court, because the president should not be influencing the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is an independent body and meant to be so. Our law was revised for that very purpose, to excuse the president from that, from influencing the central bank. And I think that the economic management team that the president just set up is illegal. If they post the central bank on that team, is wrong and is misleading. Whoever is advising him should make that correction. The central bank should not be subjected to any group or forum that will undermine its autonomy. And that is very important for the IMF and the World Bank to see that our government is ready to do business from the financial standpoint.
Thank you.
I know Jerome is coming, but let's not forget, I mean, the U.S. ambassador took a tour of the country. The report he brought out was dismal. Under this past government, budgets appropriated, people don't get the money. The health posts, all of them are in, various stages of
distress,
dilapidation. I mean, we heard a recording from Kakata here, for God's sake, of the health team, planning on how to distribute the money among themselves that were given by, our partners. But this past government did nothing. When did they ever develop the courage to prosecute? And so that's why I'm saying I'm encouraged here. Yes, this government itself has a lot of questions that they haven't been able to address here, but I believe they're doing a better job compared to the immediate past government.
Better job. Well, time will tell. Mr. Gibbon?
Yeah, thank you very much for the show. Let me play a brief extra here of the very thing we are talking about. They used to call the president Bobo president. He won't talk. Listen to this.
Men that you respect. Yeah, I respect. He does, but it's all on the social media. Yeah, but let it be there. Okay, I understand. A day he insult the president. A day Yaka Koroba insult the president. Or 30 the president. I'm not going to harm him. I'm not going to do anything to him. I will give 1,000 United States dollars to the people in district number 10 to beat me naked. Well, not harming him there. But wait a minute.
So, this is, I think my brother Namwe was talking about incompetency and all of these things. This is a man who's known for divine cow meat. Mike Jabate was appointed assistant minister for urban planning. In his capacity as assistant minister, protecting his uncle, as he called him, called a sitting lawmaker, said, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to send mercenary. We're going to kill you. Then he went and apologized and said, I didn't mean it. Then he left and went on OKFM and said, I won't harm him, but I'm going to pay somebody $1,000 to beat him and strip him naked in public. And the journalist said, but isn't that harming? He said, no, that's not. We're just beating him and stripping him naked. This is the minister in your government. Minister. Someone talked about statute of limitation. Even if you wanted to apply that, okay, this order was from 2018 to 2023. That's 5 years. So that means you shouldn't have even touched this. If you want to use the statute of limitation, you say 5 years. The $22 million from the Ministry of Public Works, it was just recent. It's not even 6 months. We are talking about the $750,000 inaugural ball money, where the president fainted first in world history. The president did not finish his inaugural address. They wanted to, basically attempted assassination. They killed the president. He almost died. The chairman of the party said he took $350,000 from the folk to celebrate all over the country. What happened to that? In fact, as we're speaking, Front Page Africa reported that the budget for the Gone 26 celebration was $500,000 US when people were not being paid, when there were no food to eat. $500,000 for this fiasco that just happened. Do you want, is this government deserve respect? No, as evidenced by the walkout of the U.S. delegation, while the sitting president, Weah, was sitting there with other presidents and other dignitaries, they walked out. The orator said, Mr. Weah, President Weah, is this what you want to be remembered for? And he said, and she said, on the yellow machine, I call it yellow machine gate, you have to reconsider. She said, you have appointed shady, corrupt characters, and you know who they are in strategic positions. My friend, if you walk like a duck and they quack like a duck, it's a duck. President Weah has no clue what's going on. Somebody else is running this government, as evidenced by appointing people to position, and as they are on their way to being confirmed, sitting in a seat, the chair said there's another list here with other people on it. This is what we are talking about. Now, the countenance of this president is coming into focus. Does he have it all? Is this another Joe Biden? Is there another walking Joe Biden here? Are they propping him up in a country where there is no dignity, according to the orator? My friend, this thing walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and I'm telling you, President Weah and the CDC will keep calling it duck because it's still quacking, and this is the beginning of a quacking duck. It will quack, it will walk, it's a duck. Thank you.
Well, the voice of the unapologetic, unbending, unrelenting, and the guy who doesn't apologize for his views. He's
just a little correction. The inaugural budget was 650, not 750,000.
Okay, you can take the
I think it's still a joke.
All right, so folks, this is how we will come to the end of yet another edition here at Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We end our broadcast with the song that says, "We are indeed all Liberians." Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow on Tough Talking Thursday, where we will be talking tough, uncovering issues. Do not miss it. Bye-bye.
We are Liberians.